Okay, it's time for something a little bit different this week. For the last month, I've been working on, well, a little bit of a project. The primary reason I was working on the project was I wanted to learn some new things. I've always been something of a tech guy, and I've been a product manager my entire career. I've held senior executive leaderships at Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle. I've always been in the tech industry, but technology marches on, and my ability to write a program does not necessarily translate to building an interactive web app and doing cool things that exist today versus what I could do many, many years ago. I just haven't had a chance or reason or quite frankly the time to sit down and write code. And what I decided to build was a tool that, well, frankly, it's for you, my customers. I hear over and over again from customers that come through InterviewAt.com. Incidentally, if you want to sign up for a free mock interview, you can do so at InterviewAt.com. What I hear over and over again, especially for those who are interviewing at Amazon, is they don't know how to match the questions that they're hearing to the leadership principles. They get flummoxed or they're not really sure. We'll get to that in a second. But here's the thing. Even if you're not interviewing at Amazon, I say this again and again and again. The real secret to being a great interviewer is having great stories prepared. And the secret to having great stories prepared is being comfortable telling those stories. How do you do that? Well, you stop worrying about the questions that you get asked and figure out how to identify the question behind the question. And this is, again, how I went about this when I was doing executive search-based searches when I was getting interviewed for chief product officer roles and VP of product roles. I was spending too much time stressing about trying to write out and scripting all of these answers. It was absolute lunacy. And the hypothesis I put to myself was, I'll bet every behavioral interview question, if I went and found a book of them, which turns out it exists on Amazon, there's a few of them, on Kindle lending, I could map it to at least one leadership principle. And so I went about doing exactly that, and it works. Great. And here's why. It doesn't matter if you're interviewing at Amazon. It does not matter. If you can identify the leadership principle behind the question, oh, that's a customer obsession question. Oh, that's a dives deep question. Oh, that's an invent and simplify question. Well, now you can just pull your story out of your invent and simplify sack. If you're comfortable enough with it, you can tweak the front end of the story to match the question, right? But now you've got a story that's comfortable because you've identified the leadership principle behind the question. So back to my Amazon folks who come to me and say, well, I'm really worried about the leadership principles and the questions, etc. So I went about building a thing, and I'm now telling the rest of you about it because it's pretty cool. It's the first of many pieces of software that I'm going to build for InterviewAt as part of helping people along their journey to landing their dream job and eventually being at their job, and how do they onboard and how do they run their own interview loops and processes they can do there, to how do they run an entire interview cycle, the whole thing. Like, I've got all these ideas from talking to my customers. It's been great to get back to my product manager roots, do my customer interviews, and listen to the feedback and to start building cool things. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you this really cool thing today. So this is it. It's guessthelp.com, or I also own the leadership, the URL, guesstheleadershipprinciple.com, but that was kind of a mouthful. So guessthelp.com. And it is exactly what it purports to be, which is, you know what? It comes in, I've got my massive question bank that I've built over, 2.5 decades of being a product leader, guy that's built a bunch of teams, interviewed with a bunch of teams, run a bunch of teams, etc. I've built a question data bank that I've maintained over time. I've augmented it as a result of running InterviewAt and having this as one of my companies. But I'm giving you access to it through a quiz format. So here's a question. Give me an example when you submitted a good idea to your manager and they didn't act on it. What was it? What was the end outcome? Well, we can guess. Let me just, it's not a customer obsession, right? Absolutely not customer obsession. So immediately, it's just a guessing game. Cool. Now you can come in here. You can benefit from my my question bank that's stored in the database in the cloud. Incidentally, using Amazon Web Services is massively confusing to someone who doesn't know what they're doing. But I learned. Or you can get to the right answer, which is have backbone, disagree, and commit. And within the context of giving you the right answer, not only do I give you the right answer, I give you an explanation and I provide some coaching tips, things you should consider when you're crafting your story around that leadership principle, right? So in this one, it's as a leader, do you get on board with decisions that have been made, okay? Or question rigorously, challenge assumptions, and escalate issues up and across the food chain when you're satisfied, even if unpopular, right? So these are kind of prompt questions to help you think through your story development. And it's just, that's it. It's really super simple. I get another question. Here we go. Give me an example of tough piece of critical feedback that you received. Well, that's going to be either all right a lot, which it's not, or ownership, which it is, right? Because you're taking ownership of being able to receive that feedback, process it, be humble about it, and then act on it, right? So that's it. I'm irrationally excited about this because it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And the tech that I built here, this is completely serverless for the nerds out there. This is built on Lambda using API Gateway. I've got Bootstrap on the front end, and just built this little quiz application. And just full disclosure, I am tracking what people guess. So I'm going to start providing data about the most commonly misguessed questions, as well as how people, what they're guessing wrong as far as leadership principles, because that's going to drive more content for you, the customer. So look, it's a simple thing. It's really tiny, but I hope it helps people. If you find it useful, share it with people, but it's going to be out there. It was just a fun little project, and I wanted to share it with the rest of you, and hopefully you get as excited for me as I am for myself. But that you also sign up for the journey, because I'm going to be releasing more videos of stuff that I'm going to build to service customers in this space. And the next one, I actually have a bunch of conversations set up this week with existing InterviewAt customers, a bunch of 15-minute slots to introduce them to my idea for my next piece of software and see what they think. So I know my normal office hour videos tend to be questions I get asked in the follow-up sessions. And this is a little bit different because I'm introducing something that I'm building, and there's sort of a builder's journey that could have occurred here. I didn't actually share my progress along the way. So this is the kind of content you want to see in addition to what I'm posting here on InterviewAt. Go ahead and let me know in the comments and let me know that you'd like it here, or maybe I just stick it on a different channel so I don't confuse the audience who are coming here looking for mock interview questions and feedback. But I would love to hear from you. Just let me know what you think. If you found this content useful or helpful, I would love it if you went ahead and liked the content. If you loved the content, it would make my day if you subscribe to the channel.